Welcome back to Mixed Media. This is the second segment, my segment on the cinema industry and how movie theaters, I think, if they think properly, they're in the right position to break through and save their industry and movies as a whole. Cross my fingers if they understand what they're doing right now. Let me flip the card real quick. As we all know, AMC theaters is the subject of a lot of news lately, as it was, I don't remember how many months ago when it short squeezed the last time. I was a participant in the fun and the fun investing of last cycle of short squeezing. This cycle, unfortunately I paper hands my way out of out of the situation with everything except for one stock of GME. That's because I had to move my money elsewhere, and the fun seemed to have faded away a little bit. But for all of you who are out there putting your money into AMC and driving that thing to the moon, good luck to you, and have fun. Don't hurt yourself while doing it, but just have fun, and it's a lottery. It's a little bit of a lottery. But the great gift of the short squeeze to AMC has been debt clearing. And this has brought a lot of things to my mind as to okay, where do we go from here in cinema as a whole? Because the way things are advancing is really bad, for the art form in particular. The custodians of the art form are now new people. We don't this this version of cinema that we have here has essentially been handed over to a new type of person, a new type of player, and those people are not good custodians of cinema. The prior people weren't particularly great either, but these people are a lot worse. So, recently Amazon buying out MGM, which really, literally depressed me for a week. I couldn't get out of my mind. It was so bothersome to me. I was just like, man, I don't know if I'll ever make a film in my entire life.
Oh yeah, I agree. I know I said it to you, but I kind of have the same reaction, to what it's going to do to the film. Well, anything does to the film industry, which I think is going to be negative. Obviously, it impacts film music industry, which is where I am, and especially I've been seeing a lot of stuff about people arguing about James Bond too, and
oh no, don't even get me. I'll have to make a different episode about whatever happens to James Bond.
Well, that's in the future, but next week I found some fantastic things for you to respond to about
wonderful.
Amazon and MGM.
I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, I'll say my opinion about these big tech companies that are slowly eating everything. Big tech companies plus Disney, which behaves like a big tech company these days, and might one day in some dystopian future be bought out by Apple. We'll see. But the day where Apple owns Disney is the day that I don't know. Something needs to change. But it's these people don't really know what they're doing with art. They have hegemony and market control, market cap, which means they can do a lot of things that makes it seem like they can do things successfully. But oftentimes, if you dig into the actual economics, you dig into the actual reception of what they're making art-wise, it's really bad. And the thing is, they keep, essentially shotgun shelling, the art industry and saying, okay, can I get this piece to land and make money on this project? And does my algorithm say that this will work? And can I take advantage of this community or that community to try to grassroots drive this film to success or whatever? Disney. And all of that is not sustainable. But the thing is, these people don't care about sustainability because they'll just move the art space to a different direction. That's how much power they have. They don't care if they destroy cinema in the process. But here's where theaters have a very, I think, cool and unique position. No theaters are controlled by big tech. This dawned on me, like, the other day. I was like, AMC, Regal, all the big names, they're big companies and they're pretty garbage, at what they do. They've been garbage for years now, so it's just catching up to them now. But they're not controlled, And I was like, well, that's interesting because they're large, large enough to throw their weight around, but they're independent from the way the art form is progressing. And the great other thing about theaters is that if cinema dies, they die. Almost all of these chains don't have any secondary industry. They're literally just theater chains. So if cinema dies, they die. Now, I don't think any of them has any clue, not even the smallest smidge of a clue, how to fix their own problem. They're literally clueless. But, I think there is a path, and I think that's what I really want to talk about as to how things could change if some person listening out there who has any sway could make any moves. I recommend you listen to me. So what are movie theaters? Well, movie theaters these days are essentially snack retailers and Coca-Cola brokers. That's what they are. They're not, they don't sell movies. I've said this many times on the podcast. They don't sell movies. They sell food.
What's their profit margin on a thing, popcorn?
I think the most famous example, because it's taught in business classes as to how to create a great product, is that I don't know if it was AMC or some other big chain, but some big chain created a aluminum tin. This is maybe a decade ago or something. An aluminum tin that was branded to their company, which is it's funny. The whole thing is funny, and it cost them about maybe 3/4 of a cent to construct this aluminum tin. And you could buy this tin, and that tin would give you, I think, free popcorn for a year, quote unquote. And the tin would change design and color the next year, and so you couldn't use the same tin and whatever. And they also marketed it as a collectible as well, et cetera, et cetera. That tin costed you something like, I don't know, $75 to buy or something like that. The half-cent tin. So even without selling, the whole thing is funny. The tin is less than a penny, and immediately they have a turnaround of $75. And unless that person is going in literally every day watching, spending hours and hours shoveling popcorn into that tin and eating it, they're not going to even approach the cost of the tin, or not the cost of the $75 with how much popcorn they consume. It's ridiculous margins. Popcorn is very cheap, guys, to manufacture. That's why they like giving you popcorn for $20. But here's the thing. You can't sell movies, and there's nothing else you can do with your properties unless you want to go through the painful process of turning your companies into completely different directions. You're not going to, what are you going to do with all those movie screens? Those movie screens cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Those sound systems cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And all you've got is real estate, which is not a bad position to be in, but that's not the best, definitely. How are you going to pivot that? How are you going to turn that space into something else if the cinema industry dies? So you are stuck here. And I like that, because that means you must fight for this. And so what you have to do is understand that you need to switch from being a snack and Coca-Cola broker, and you need to be a movie broker. Now, the reason why the industry molded in the way that it did is because of antitrust laws that unfortunately apparently don't apply to literally anyone else who's buying out these studios. But back then, it was a little bit different. The theaters tried to become the producer of movies, but there's a famous case, I forget the name of the case, where railroad logic was applied to the theaters, essentially, and it was said that the theaters could not be the producer of the films as well as the distributor of the film, that there had to be that divide. So that actually helped us in this situation to have those independent entities floating around. Now, I'm not saying to for these companies to go around suing Amazon and whatever. Good luck with that. It's the whole antitrust situation has evolved in a very bad direction, but you can use their opening now. You can use the opening that they created for you to become the provider again, at least to challenge them. And I don't really know how that wouldn't be allowed in this environment. It would be kind of crazy if you got antitrusted for becoming a studio these days. So why do I say this? Because it's very costly, it's very difficult to break into, et cetera, et cetera. Why is this the time to become producers, not only distributors? Well, it's because you're reliant entirely on the products that you're given currently. So, and those are all given by giants. So what ends up happening is, in this current Marvel only era, which might as well be the Disney only era, you have limited slots. You do, and you have to contend with that. That's fine. You have limited slots. And if you don't fill your slots with Disney movies, Disney might threaten to murder you by just putting it on a streaming platform and killing you. And if you're AMC and you have no pride, you go whine about it instead of doing something to help yourself. So what could you do? Well, you can't do anything right now because, you have no other films to show. Everything is provided by these big players. And you could, I guess, go shopping for some really indie stuff, but not all of that stuff is also, suitable for all environments. Cinema should be places where there are summer blockbusters. It should be, what is cinema? Like the actual, this is the medium of movies. Movies are not TV shows. This is most blatant now more than ever, I think. Movies are not TV shows. The native format of a movie is the cinema for a variety of reasons. It is the big screen, and it is the crowded audience. That is when directors make films instead of TV shows, they're thinking about the audience that is essentially vibing together to the picture, And so, things like, the old Jurassic Park films. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, is that something that directors are thinking about? Like I know in the musical world, people are always talking about how when you play music, people their heart rates kind of all converge to the same point, to match the music and stuff like that, and their breathing tends to match each other to match the music. Is that something that film directors talk about?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think the most palpable feeling when you're a director is sitting in an audience watching your film. The film acquires a completely different tone just from the fact that everyone is hopefully engaged with your film. You now feel the film through their eyes. And that's not just one person at a time. That's the collective experience. And I think about that when I write and stuff like that. And I know filmmakers who also think that way too.
That's very cool. I only heard that from a musical angle, but I imagine that's true of film. So it's cool that people think about that.
Yeah, for sure. And so, it's as fun as a summer blockbuster. Who wants to watch Jurassic Park? The old summer, type of summer blockbuster, the classic type of summer blockbuster. Who wants to watch that thing in their own room alone on a small screen with a terrible? No, you want to go to a cinema and experience that thing with a crowd, and you want to, and you want to be able to laugh and cheer and get scared with your fellow audience goers. And this even works with really intimate films too. You want to get vulnerable with the characters, and you want to get vulnerable with those around you. as you explore like really deep themes of humanity, you know? And that's cinema. It's its own medium. TV is its own medium. That's why TV is written very differently, precisely because it's experienced very differently, you know? Disney and Marvel destroyed that difference in medium entirely at this point, in terms of what we see on average. But we can recover that, I think. We can recover that. And you, as the theater chains, you can help recover that because that is your product. That collective experience is your product. And there's nothing like it. How do you do this? So you want to create your own stuff so that you're not reliant and can't be threatened by Disney. Instead of whining, you say, okay, 1, I need to modernize. 2, I need to become sleeker. You know, I don't think any of these theaters have attempted to shave down their hierarchies and pipelines and everything to make things as sleek as possible. I know this because I've looked at AMC stuff, and it astonishes me how much administration costs. It's kind of absurd. So you need to pare everything down, or at least, take a lot of those people and try to reform the structure so that they're actually producing more, in terms of economic output. You need to do all of that. And now what can you do? You can make your own Jurassic Park again, You can make your own, what's a good example? I mean, there have been films that are pretty great lately, but it's just not the common experience anymore. So you can make your own Joker, If you have your finger on the pulse of society and you say, what do people need? I promise you you will make money, because that is what makes you the money. That's what people pay for, is something that they need, right? Not something that you already know works, which has done how well for you so far. So I think they need to look at GameStop as an example. I said this at the end of last thing, but I really, after thinking about it a lot, I was like, GameStop really understands. First of all, they fired everyone, so they understand because the new people understand. So you might want to consider AMC board, maybe, I don't know, updating your staff a little bit. But what they understood when they put their finger to the pulse was, okay, what do people miss about physical games or physical things physically about games? Oh, they actually do miss going to the store. But there's just no good economic reason to go to the store anymore. Our current configuration doesn't make any sense. What do people love to do together, though, that they normally cannot? Well, they love to play together. People love playing games together. They love playing sports together. They love doing that stuff. But with games, it's hard because I have a gigantic computer under my desk right now, which, it can game fairly well. But I can't just lug this thing around. I have got 1 million cords plugged into it, whatever. And, I'm just not going to lug this thing around just to go to my friend's house to play a game for an hour. But GameStop can provide that experience. Now, what else does GameStop understand? It understands people miss having things, having and collecting things. They miss that. They miss uniqueness in the things that they own because everything is digital now. They don't really own anything. So what do? They hop on the NFT trend and they say, okay, what if we have the option to tie physical media to NFTs? So that's all to say that GameStop gets it in the sense that they didn't they used to whine, but now they've got new administration. And they said, okay, what do gamers actually need in their medium, and how can we fulfill that role? And it's a little bit even harder for them than it is for you guys, the movie theaters, because they're not necessary like, cinema is. They're not necessary like theaters are, So it's actually harder for them, to innovate in a way that'll attract the people who consume the art form back to their place. What else? I think there's this going back to the sort of the data point, the data is sort of driven point. I love data. Data is not bad. Data is a good thing. It's good to have data. It's good to know what you're doing. It's good to have your feelers out there. All of that's great. My problem with this data-driven atmosphere is that you never fully understand why something worked often, because often the people who are analyzing the data don't understand the art form itself. They're sort of data analytics people. They're just trying to extract more signals to show to their boss and say, look at this graph, look what I found. They don't really understand how to humanize it and parse it into something that's truly actionable. And then a lot of times what the executives end up doing is they end up using really crappy data and using their feelings, which usually comes from them scrolling around Twitter, to make their decisions about about what to make, which is basically the worst thing you could possibly do.
See, I saw so many comments on the James Bond thing about people like, well, James Bond's going to be Jane Bond. She's going to be American, because why do you need British people to market to Americans? Not as much killing, because killing isn't cool. Like, you can be vegetarian. Drinks like carrot juice instead of martinis. I saw like 10 comments about this like yesterday.
And the thing is, because a lot of people are going to be vocally like, yeah, do that, who will probably not even go to watch the movie. Let's be real. Because a lot of those people will go do that and be loud on Twitter. These companies truly, I think, sometimes, it depends on the company. It depends on the exact situation. But oftentimes it's not because the company higher people in the company are ideological or anything like that. They're just stupid. They actually just don't understand, that Twitter is not a great direction giver with what movies you should make or what adjustments you should make. Because, first of all, a lot of people are afraid to speak their mind, period. It's been the greatest, I think, statistical crisis in a long time, which is the non-response bias, that has sort of eaten away at people these days, where they just don't want to say what they feel, which is bad, by the way. People, say what you feel. It's okay. I promise. I've become a great advocate of that these days. It's okay. And so a lot of people don't talk. A lot of people don't say what they want, but they just won't go watch the movie. They're not going to spend $20 and then another $20 on popcorn on something they actually don't like deep down. They're just not going to do it. So, listen to listen to your audience a little bit better. Encourage them to speak instead of yelling at them, and to me, the tech companies, that's far gone. That's dead. So those people, I don't think they'll ever be able to understand anything about anything like that. But the theaters, they haven't said much. They haven't done much like this. And the great part is that you guys don't advertise your own movies right now. You advertise your theater maybe sometimes, but you spend no money on marketing, pretty much. You just know if the latest Marvel movie comes out that people have to go to a theater, and then you hope that you're in a prime spot your chain is in the prime spot, such that, someone close by comes in to watch the Marvel movie at your theater. Well, change that whole pipeline. Change it to, I make the movie. I fund these artists, even if I don't make it per se. I'm not a production company. I fund the production company's effort, right? I become a larger shareholder in the success of this product, and I find the pulse of society and figure out how to talk to everyone who needs to see this movie. With YouTube marketing, this is a great example. With YouTube marketing, oftentimes the best thing that you can do, which I'm trying to do with this channel, we'll see what happens, but oftentimes the best thing you can do is not to find the biggest audience. That's not necessarily always what you want to do. What you want to do is find the audience that needs the thing that you're trying to give them. And so you can get the same packed theater from a smaller crowd that really needs that film, And I think that's an underrated thing. I think people have been chasing the general, global scale, whatever, when there's so much money to be made that's not being made, and niching down a little bit and reaching people. You don't have to have all your time blocks be one generalized movie like all day in the same like 5 theaters that take up half the slots. You don't need to do it that way, especially if you make your own films. Then you have control over the entire pipeline. You don't have to there's no deals where you have to show the film this many hours in a day or anything like that. No, you are your own broker. And this is actually how in the original, or like the early days of cinema, when cinema was just becoming a business, that's oftentimes how it worked, until the antitrust things came around, was certain theaters would buy the roll of film from the artist, and the most successful theaters were the ones who understood what the people in their area needed the best, and that is an underrated business model. So there's this idea too that the data shows, okay, people love nostalgic things. They love these old IPs. We already know they work. Why not just dump the money in there? Where did those old IPs come from? I hate when people say this, because where did they come from? They were original at some point. Star Wars was original at some point. Harry Potter was original at some point. It was a book originally, yeah. But, the book was original at some point. All these things, Jurassic Park, E.T., whatever. All these IPs and properties. They were original at some point. But they were created when the industry was healthy. When there was healthy competition, there was healthy care over the art form that they were making. And so they created IPs that would last. So why don't you continue to make IPs that will last? When was the last time we created an IP that people care about? Actually, I think it's been 2 decades maybe since we've had like a new IP. I actually can't think of one, because people keep trying to make them, but they suck because they're like data driven, like, garbage.
Maybe Frozen, if Frozen continues.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like that's a good point. Yeah, maybe Frozen's a good example. It's kind of leeching on the Disney princess sort of thing, but yeah, that's a good example. And then here, I'll give them another NFT based idea. And I hate saying these out loud. I really do, because these are ideas that I keep tucked away in my little notebook. But it's just, I just am afraid that by the time I can ever action on these ideas, the industry will have already been dead. And how many people are listening anyway? I don't know. But if you take a page out of the sports betting world, which is blossomed and bloomed like crazy,
My goodness, yes.
It's been incredible watching it. At first, I was extremely skeptical. I was like, this is probably going to backfire, because there are a lot of interesting problems that arise with it. But I think I was a little bit wrong.
I mean, I hate it, but you can't deny their success.
So what do? You sell every frame. I said this in the last NFT episode. Every frame of that film as an NFT, and only when there's a new screening is a new NFT of that frame being sold again in its initial run, right? Its initial theatrical run. So every screening there is, that frame gets a new NFT generated for it. Only one, and everyone in the audience has only the people who are there that day. It gets marked with the day and everything. Only the people there that day have the opportunity to auction on those frames. Now, sell these frames. This is to take the page out of the sports betting book and make this more to create the discussion. That's what sports betting did to sports. It really intensified the discussion around sports. To intensify the discussion around movies, before that movie premieres for the first time, sell all the frames. Just label them 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No one knows what's in those frames. For them to be auctioned off before anyone has seen the film before. What's that going to do for you? I promise you that would ridiculously create a ridiculous atmosphere around movies, around cinema. And what can you not? What happens when that person goes to the cinema now? They go and they pay attention, and they really care about that movie because They've got money on it, But that person may accidentally become a film lover, in that first time betting on the movie, on that frame, because it's a Christopher Nolan movie. It's the only movies that I've ever liked, and they bet on they spent $200 on getting the first frame of the first screening at their local theater. The first frame, because they just knew Christopher Nolan's first frames tend to encapsulate the entire plot of the movie, and they go through that whole thing, and they buy that for $200. The next day, that frame is worth $10,000. What do you think you've done to the industry when you've done that? And all you've done is take a pulse, like, of the youth. Honestly, the youth who need to be inspired, because you haven't been talking to them for like a decade. You've been talking to the cheap audience, the cheaply acquired audience. You haven't been talking to the youth, and so these are just examples, I think, of taking the reins in your own hands. Stop whining to Universal, please. It's pathetic. It makes me cringe. It hurts. It's their movie. They can put it wherever they want, but you can make it to their own demise if you want to, you can make them wish they had their own theaters, and so that's really my entire point. I just think that theaters, particularly because they're not big tech, they're not co-opted by big tech, and they're the only way to experience cinema in its native format. Because of those things, I think that they're in a unique position to potentially fight back if they wanted to. So AMC, I know you are afraid of pissing off your stockholders if you were to dilute the shares right now, but come on, you got to dilute the shares just a little bit. I'm sorry to the AMC diamond hands people out there. Just hold on longer. Just keep holding. Not financial advice, but if you want to really change the way the industry is going, dilute your stock, raise the money, obliterate your debt, and move in a new direction. Do what GameStop did, and I think that this ship could be turned around. Will they do it? I'm kind of not optimistic about it, but is it possible? 100%. It's 100% possible. Hold your own award ceremony that's nonsense-free. That's easy, like just a nonsense-free Oscars type thing that live streams everywhere. There's so many things you could do that aren't even necessarily even that expensive, like, that award ceremony ideas. I mean, that's easy. That'd be easy to do. And figure out how to stay relevant, because you'll die otherwise, I promise. So that's my spiel.
How about drive-in movies?
Oh yeah, you could. That's something that popped back up, and I've seen a couple of them start taking themselves down. I'm like, why? Don't do that. It's not, in terms of like being a purist. It's not really the right way, I guess, to watch a movie. But there's some movies that lend themselves to being watched like that. Like Terminator, for example. You can totally watch Terminator that way. In fact, that might be the right way to watch Terminator. I don't know. But
it's interesting too that like that's coming back, or at least it was a little bit like pre-pandemic in popularity, coming back in popularity.
Yeah, I think people want experiences. I think AMC made a good move, and all the other theaters in the past, when they focused on the experience of the actual seating and like taking care of their like literal property a little bit better, taking care of the screens better. That was a good move. I think that was a smart move. But that was like a decade ago at this point, or maybe even more. It's like, well, you've got to do it to a higher degree more. So things like drive-ins. There's an AMC in Queens that has a rooftop parking lot. Empty half the parking lot, AMC. Empty half of it. And once a week during the summer, allow people to sit outside too with allow people to tailgate that thing. You know, like make it like a communal event and slap on the most fun summer blockbuster that you got. You know, hopefully a new one if you can get your hands on a decent new summer blockbuster, which I don't know what that would be these days, but maybe Steven Spielberg will come back and make like something fun. But
other than his autobiographical film,
is he making?
I don't think it'll be a. Yeah, he's working on that right now. Apparently, it's like a mostly autobiographical film with John Williams scoring it.
Huh. I did not know that was happening. Also, I did not know that John Williams had more projects than just what was it? Was it
Jurassic Park? Whatever.
Yeah, Jurassic Park. Yeah, or whatever IP.
Or no, Indiana. I can't remember. It's not Jurassic. Indiana Jones. One of the. I don't.
Yeah.
Whichever one is coming out next. Yeah.
I didn't know he was slated to do even more than that one film. So
yeah,
that's crazy.
I know he's about to turn 90.
He never stops.
Apparently not.
John Williams, if he made, I'm just spitting ideas. In New York, your AMC or Regal Theaters, Regal Cinemas in Times Square, you know, you charge people absurd amounts of money to go to those theaters for what? Because you can't even see outside when you're in the theater. It's kind of crazy. But you charge people so much money to go to an average cinema that's just decorated nice on the outside. But what if you invited John Williams to come on a special one-time event, you know, conduct the orchestra? What would happen? You know,
well, I'm there.
Exactly.
I'm there.
Exactly. What kind of conversations would you create? Young people know who John Williams is. Come on. Stop complaining about, the young people don't want to go to movies anymore. They don't want to listen to good music anymore. It's just, stop. It's lazy, and I'm tired of it because it's blatantly not true. There's a reason people go to TikTok. There's a reason people, read clickbait articles. There's a reason they do that, and figure out why. Even if you think that's like a lower level of consumption, which maybe, but I don't do those things, and whatever. But but you have to understand why it's happening. You can't just complain that it is happening. That people, their attention spans are becoming, smaller, and they don't want to watch longer things anymore. That's not true. That's after a 3-hour-long Avengers movie. That's not true. So figure out why they're watching TikTok, and then maybe we'll have an answer to how you can mold yourself as an industry to what people need, in their soul, because TikTok, whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing, is filling some void, and so figure it out. That's all I have to. That's really what my talk comes down to: is stop whining and figure it out. I don't think there are excuses. Yeah, sometimes I wish I had like maybe $5 million and I just go crazy, But maybe buy a nice property, make something amazing out of it, just to show people it's not impossible, and it isn't even necessarily hard if you have the resources like a lot of these gigantic companies do. Any news in the music world?
News in the music world? Nothing that I can think of.
Yeah, and media in general. Well, at this point, Amazon has bought out sports, football in particular. They've bought MGM. They have their own studio or their own distributor. They also are broad market. So, I don't know. I think it's bound to happen that someone tries to take up a very serious antitrust case, and hopefully that prevails. And I'll let you guys know if that happens.
That was a lot. We got a nice discussion of themes in film music and how to save theaters. A lot of really nice ideas there. Yeah,
steal them. It's okay, but maybe slide me a slice if you want to of the profits if you really feel bad for me. But steal my idea.
I don't know. I like the drive-in movies. I'll go to a drive movie this summer if someone offers one. Like,
Yeah.
sounds like fun.
Yeah. Imagine if you could I don't know if there's like liabilities they'd be afraid of, or with fire and things like that, or just allow people to bring food. Stop trying to force popcorn on people. The no food policy is dumb. Stop it. Stop. I get it's the same thing that I feel with theme parks too. Like they're not quite there yet. I follow the theme park industry as well. They're not quite there yet, but they're like venturing on movie territory in terms of like what their actual product is, and their actual product is like these days like 49% like food, in the park, and they don't allow you to bring food inside. Stop. You're going to die eventually. This is not sustainable. But okay, I don't think there's anything else I have to say.
Yeah.
So if you like this, please give us a like if you're on YouTube, Rumble, wherever you are. If you're on Rumble, give us a Rumble. We won a Rumble battle recently, which felt really good. So you have some people out there who really enjoy our content. I wish they would comment on our Rumble videos, but they don't really. They just silently subscribe and just kind of watch our videos, which is fine too. But I would love to hear more from our followers out there, because we're on so many platforms. I would like to have a more cohesive, cohort of people.
Like send us something on like whatever platform you want to. Like, I want someone to suggest a James Newton Howard score that I should listen to make me reevaluate my evaluation of him. I know it's really unpopular. Whenever I notice on all these videos or like the shorts where I criticize him, they're like same number of likes and dislikes.
Yeah, so, I've noticed that too. Yeah, but that's why this is fun. Like, comment and or tune in live, even better, and drop a bomb on Ben as to why he's wrong about James Newton Howard.
I want to hear why I'm wrong. I want to hear a good score from him other than dinosaurs.
Yeah, and if you want to be part of the evolving discussion, we have a Discord. There's going to be a link in the description of this video. And lastly, we have a locals page, which is where our official support platform. If you want to support us and you like what we are doing with this channel, first of all, tell us in the comments. Second of all, you can join that page for free if you want for now, and we'll still give you cool stuff. But if you would wanted to support us, even just as low as $5 a month, we'd be much appreciated. It would actually go pretty long way into advancing this channel. Just a little bit of income coming into here. With that, I think I'll say have a good weekend.
Yeah, have a good night.